What do you want from us, Jihoon? Why can't you just leave us alone?
I love you, Aiden. You're the man I love.
I love you too, Naomi. So much.
Are you going to marry my mommy?
Maybe someday, if your mommy says yes. I still love you, Naomi. I never really stopped loving you.
I'm with someone else. What you feel is irrelevant.
Naomi's grip on Kiara's hand tightened as Jihoon took a step toward them, his mouth opening to speak. She didn't give him the chance. With deliberate, measured movements, she turned and began walking away from the ice cream cart, her daughter's small hand secure in hers. Her face was composed, blank, giving nothing away. But inside, her heart hammered against her ribs like it was trying to escape her chest. "Naomi, wait. Please." His voice carried across the park, desperate and raw in a way she'd never heard before. She stopped walking but didn't turn around. Her spine straightened, shoulders pulling back. Kiara looked up at her, chocolate ice cream already smeared across her chin, confusion clear in those dark eyes that were so heartbreakingly similar to her father's. "Mommy, why is that man calling you?" "Eat your ice cream, baby," Naomi said softly, her voice steady even though everything inside her was screaming. She heard his footsteps on the grass behind her, closer, too close. The air shifted and she knew he was right there, just a few feet away. She could feel his presence like a physical weight pressing against her back. 4 years of distance, 4 years of carefully constructed walls, and he'd managed to demolish them in seconds just by saying her name. Her fingers trembled slightly where they held Kiara's hand. She forced them to still. Naomi. Just her name. That was all he said. But the way he said it, broken and pleading and full of everything they'd lost, made something crack in her chest. She hated him for it. Hated herself more for feeling it. She turned slowly, face carefully blank. He stood 3 feet away, his expensive suit jacket gone, black shirt sleeves rolled up to his elbows. His hair was disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it. His eyes were red-rimmed and wild. He looked nothing like the composed businessman who'd sat across from her in the conference room on Friday. He looked devastated, destroyed, like someone had reached into his chest and ripped out his heart. Good, she thought viciously. Now he knows how it feels. But looking at him, really looking at him for the first time since the park encounter began, she noticed other things too. The lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. The way his hands shook slightly at his sides. The pallor beneath his tan. He looked older, tired, like something had carved pieces out of him and left the empty spaces to fester. "Not here," she said quietly, her voice cold and controlled. "Not in front of her. I need to know, please. I need—" His voice cracked completely, breaking on the last word. "I said not here, Jihoon." She kept her tone firm, final, letting him hear the steel beneath the words. She reached into her purse with her free hand and pulled out a business card. Her fingers didn't shake as she held it out to him, even though her heart was racing so fast she felt lightheaded. "My office. Monday, 9 a.m. Come alone." He took the card like it was made of something precious and fragile. His fingers brushed hers for just a second, barely a whisper of contact, but electricity shot up her arm and she hated her body for betraying her. Hated that after everything, after 4 years of building a life without him, her skin still recognized his touch. She pulled her hand back quickly, curling her fingers into a fist at her side. "Monday," he repeated, his eyes searching her face desperately, looking for something. Forgiveness, maybe, or understanding, or just confirmation that the little girl holding her hand was his daughter. "Naomi, that's all you get right now." She tucked Kiara closer to her side, creating a physical barrier between him and their child, between him and her. "Come on, sweetheart, let's go home." "Bye, mister." Kiara waved at Jihoon with her free hand, innocent and oblivious to the earthquake happening around her, to the way two adults were falling apart while trying to hold themselves together. Ji-hoon's face crumpled. For a second, just a second, his careful control shattered and raw anguish bled through. He lifted his hand in a weak wave, watching them walk away, and Naomi felt his eyes on her back the entire way to the parking lot. Every step felt like walking through concrete. Her legs were heavy, her chest tight, her throat burning with words she couldn't say. She wanted to turn around, wanted to scream at him, wanted to demand answers, to ask why, to make him hurt the way he'd hurt her. But more than that, more than anything, she wanted to keep walking. To protect Kiara from the chaos of adult pain and broken hearts. To maintain the control she'd spent 4 years building. So she didn't look back. Not once. Even though everything in her wanted to. In the car, with Kiara safely buckled into her car seat, Naomi gripped the steering wheel and stared straight ahead. She could still see Ji-hoon in the rearview mirror, a lone figure in the crowded park, standing exactly where they'd left him. He looked lost. Broken. Like someone had taken away the only thing that mattered. Her hands tightened on the wheel until her knuckles went white. "Mommy, who is that man?" Kiara asked from the back seat, her voice small and curious. "Just someone Mommy used to know, baby." He looked sad, like you do sometimes when you think I'm not watching. The observation hit Naomi like a physical blow. She glanced in the rearview mirror at her daughter's face, so innocent and perceptive in the way only children could be. "Did he?" Naomi managed, her voice only slightly strained. "Yeah." His eyes were sad. "Are you sad, Mommy?" "No." "Yes. Always. Never." She didn't know anymore. "No, sweetheart. Mommy's fine." The lie tasted bitter on her tongue, joining all the other lies she'd told herself over the past 4 years. "Hey, how about we get pizza for dinner? Your favorite?" Kiara cheered, the serious moment forgotten in the excitement of pepperoni and cheese, and the conversation shifted to toppings and whether they could watch a movie after. Normal things. Safe things. Things that didn't require Naomi to explain the unexplainable to a 4-year-old who just wanted pizza and cartoons. That night, after Kiara was bathed and dressed in her favorite purple pajamas, after they'd read 3 stories and sung 2 songs, after her daughter's eyes finally fluttered closed in exhausted sleep, Naomi stood in the doorway of Kiara's room and let herself feel everything she'd been holding back. Her chest ached, her throat burned, her eyes stung with tears she refused to let fall. Not yet. Not where anyone could see, not even her sleeping daughter. She walked to her bedroom on autopilot, closed the door, and leaned against it. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Aiden. "Hey, beautiful. Haven't heard from you all day. Everything okay?" She stared at the message. Sweet, dependable Aiden, who deserved so much better than a woman with a shattered heart she was still trying to piece together. Aiden, who showed up, who stayed, who loved Kiara like his own. Aiden, who was everything Ji-hoon hadn't been. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She should tell him. Should tell him that her ex-husband had appeared in the park, that Kiara had asked if he was her daddy, that her entire carefully constructed world had tilted on its axis. But the words stuck in her throat, trapped behind all the other things she couldn't say. Instead, she typed, "Sorry. Busy day with Kiara. Park, ice cream, the usual chaos. Miss you." The response came immediately. "Miss you too. Dinner tomorrow? I've barely seen you this week." She hesitated. Part of her wanted to say no, to hide in her apartment and process everything alone. But that wasn't fair to Aiden. He hadn't done anything wrong. And maybe seeing him would help. Maybe being with someone who loved her simply and completely would remind her that she'd moved on. That Ji-hoon was the past and Aiden was her present. "Yes, dinner sounds perfect. Pick me up at 7? It's a date. Love you." "Love you too." She set down her phone and walked to her bathroom. The shower was scalding, almost painful, steam filling the space until she could barely see. She needed it. Needed to wash away the feeling of Ji-hoon's eyes on her. the memory of his voice saying her name, the ghost of his touch when their fingers had met over that business card. Under the spray of water, alone where no one could see or hear, Naomi finally let herself break. Just a little. Just enough to release some of the pressure building in her chest. Silent tears streamed down her face, mixing with the shower water and disappearing down the drain. She cried for the girl she'd been 4 years ago, so in love and so naive. She cried for the years she'd wasted waiting in Seoul with a growing belly and a breaking heart. She cried for Kiara, who deserved a father who'd been there from the beginning. And she cried for herself, because seeing Ji-hoon again had ripped open wounds she'd thought were healed. They weren't healed. They'd just been buried. And now they were bleeding again, raw and fresh as the day he'd first broken her. But tears didn't solve anything. Tears didn't build companies or raise daughters or protect hearts from men who'd already destroyed them once. So after 10 minutes, maybe 15, she turned off the water and stepped out. She dried her face roughly, erasing any evidence of weakness. By the time she looked in the mirror, her eyes were red, but her jaw was set. Her spine was straight. She'd survived losing Ji-hoon once. She'd do it again if she had to. But this time, she had armor. This time, she had walls. This time, she wouldn't let him close enough to hurt her. Monday morning came too quickly and not quickly enough. Naomi arrived at her office at 6 a.m., unable to sleep, unable to sit still at home where Kiara's innocent questions about the sad man from the park kept echoing in her mind. She went through her morning routine on autopilot. Coffee, emails, reports, anything to keep her mind occupied and away from the fact that in 3 hours, Ji-hoon would walk through her door. At 8:45, her assistant knocked. "Ms. Williams, Mr. Park is here. He's very early." Of course he was. Probably hadn't slept either. Good. Let him be as tortured as she'd been. Naomi checked her reflection one more time. Perfect. Composed. Untouchable. "Let him wait," she said, her voice cool. "Send him in at 9:15. Let him sweat. Let him sit in that waiting room and feel even a fraction of the anxiety she'd felt for a year, waiting for a call that never came. Let him understand what it felt like to wait for something you desperately wanted but couldn't control." She used the extra time to finish reviewing contracts, to respond to emails, to do anything except think about the man sitting outside her office, probably falling apart. But her mind kept drifting, kept wondering if he looked as destroyed as he had in the park, kept remembering the way his voice had broken when he'd said her name. She crushed those thoughts viciously. They didn't matter. He didn't matter. Only Kiara mattered. At exactly 9:15, her assistant knocked again. Naomi took a deep breath, straightened papers that didn't need straightening, and said, "Send him in." The door opened and Ji-hoon entered. He looked worse than he had in the park, if that was possible. His suit was immaculate, but his face was haggard, dark circles under his eyes so pronounced they looked like bruises. His hair was perfectly styled, but his hands trembled slightly at his sides. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days, who'd been living in his own personal hell. She felt nothing, or told herself she felt nothing. The tightness in her chest was just from holding her breath. The burning behind her eyes was from staring at her computer screen too long. Nothing more. "Sit," she said, not standing, not offering pleasantries, just pointing to the chair across from her desk like he was any other business associate, and not the man who'd once been her husband, who'd once held her while she cried, who'd once promised to love her forever. He sat heavily, like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. His hands clasped tightly in his lap, knuckles white. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched between them, heavy with 4 years of history and hurt and all the things they'd left unsaid. Finally, Ji-hoon broke it. His voice was rough, scraped, raw. "Is she mine?" Direct. No preamble, no small talk, just the question that had probably been eating him alive since Sunday afternoon in the park. Naomi met his eyes, held his gaze. Let him see the truth before she spoke it. Let him understand what she was about to confirm. Yes. The single word hit him like she'd physically struck him. His breath left him in a rush and he bent forward, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. His shoulders shook. She realized with a distant sort of shock that he was crying. Ji-hoon, who never cried, who'd looked at her 4 years ago with ice in his eyes and said he didn't love her anymore, was sobbing in her office. Part of her, a small, treacherous part she tried to bury, wanted to go to him. Wanted to put her hand on his shoulder and tell him it was okay. Old habits died hard, but the bigger part, the part that had survived his abandonment and built an empire from her broken heart, stayed exactly where she was. Unmoved. Her face remained blank even though something in her chest was cracking. Even though seeing him break down made her want to break down too. But she'd learned how to feel everything while showing nothing. It was a skill born of necessity, honed over 4 years of pretending she was fine when she was falling apart. 4 years, he said finally, his voice muffled by his hands. You kept her from me for 4 years. The accusation lit a fire in her chest. Rage, pure and hot, flooded through her veins. But she didn't explode, didn't yell. Her anger came out cold and controlled, more dangerous than any scream. She stood up slowly, deliberately. Her chair rolled back and hit the wall with a soft thud. I kept her from you? Her voice was quiet. Deadly. I kept her from you? Ji-hoon looked up, tears streaming down his face. You left me, Ji-hoon. Each word was precise, sharp as a blade. You sat across from me at our anniversary dinner and told me, you didn't love me anymore. You asked for a divorce like you were canceling a subscription. So don't you dare sit in my office and accuse me of keeping anything from you. You were pregnant, he whispered. You should have told me. I tried. The control slipped for just a second, her voice rising before she caught it, brought it back down. Her hands pressed flat against her desk, the only thing keeping her grounded. Do you know what I did after you left? After the divorce papers came? He stared at her, frozen. I stayed. Her voice was shaking now, but she couldn't stop. Wouldn't stop. 4 years of buried words were clawing their way out. I stayed in Seoul for a whole year, Ji-hoon. A whole year in that apartment that smelled like you. Sleeping in a bed that felt too big, waiting for you to come back. Naomi, I'm not finished. She held up her hand and he fell silent. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you left. 2 weeks. I was terrified and alone, and the man I loved, the man whose child I was carrying, didn't want me anymore. Her voice dropped, became something haunted. But I thought maybe if I waited, you'd realize you'd made a mistake. Maybe you'd come back, and I could tell you about the baby and we could be a family. Ji-hoon's face was pale, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair like he might fall over without them. I went to every doctor's appointment alone. The words came out flat now, emotionless, like she was reciting facts instead of reliving trauma. But inside, she was screaming. Every single one. Do you know what that's like? Sitting in a room full of couples, holding hands, excited about their babies, while I sat by myself? The nurses would ask about the father and I'd lie. I'd say you were traveling for work. Because I was too ashamed to admit that my husband left me and didn't even know I was pregnant. I didn't know, Ji-hoon whispered, his voice broken. Naomi, I swear I didn't know. I waited. Her palm hit the desk and the sound cracked through the office. I waited 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, my belly growing bigger every day, our daughter kicking inside me, and I waited for you to call, to text, to show up at the door and tell me you'd made a mistake. But you never did. If I had known, would it have mattered? She leaned forward, her voice dropping to something dangerous. You said you didn't love me, Ji-hoon. You said our marriage was a mistake. Would knowing about the baby have changed that? Or would you have come back out of obligation, out of duty? Is that what you think I wanted? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I was 8 months pregnant when I saw the photos, Naomi said quietly, the anger burning through her, leaving exhaustion in its wake. She sat back down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. You and that actress, Lee Minji. Entertainment news? Photos everywhere. You looked happy. You were smiling and touching her arm and taking her to expensive restaurants. She looked at him directly, let him see the devastation those photos had caused. While I was alone, carrying your child, you were moving on. Ji-hoon's face crumpled. It was nothing. PR for the company. My father set it up. The divorce tanked our stock prices. He needed damage control. I don't care. And she meant it. Or she wanted to mean it. I saw those photos and I realized you weren't coming back. You'd moved on. So I deleted your number and I stopped waiting. And 3 weeks later, I gave birth to our daughter alone. Her voice didn't break, but her hands trembled in her lap. She clasped them together tightly. No one held my hand during labor. No one told me I was doing great. Just me and a team of nurses who didn't know me, bringing a whole human being into the world while the father was in Seoul living his life like we never existed. The silence that followed was deafening. Ji-hoon was openly sobbing now, his face in his hands, his whole body shaking. And despite everything, despite the 4 years of pain and anger and survival, part of Naomi wanted to go to him, wanted to comfort him the way she used to when the world felt too heavy. Her body remembered even if her mind had learned better. She crushed that impulse, ground it into dust. He didn't deserve her comfort. He'd made his choice. What's her name? He finally asked, his voice barely audible through his tears. Kiara Williams. Not Park? No, not Park. The words were hard, final. She's mine. I carried her. I gave birth to her. I've raised her for 4 years without you. She has my name. He flinched like she'd slapped him. His face was a portrait of agony, but Naomi felt her resolve harden rather than soften. Good. Let him hurt. Let him feel even a fraction of what she'd felt. Why didn't you tell me after? He asked desperately. After she was born? You could have called, and say what? She cut him off, her voice sharp. Hi, remember me? Your ex-wife you didn't love anymore? Well, surprise, you have a daughter. Want to be a dad now? She laughed, but there was no humor in it, only bitterness. You made it clear you didn't want me in your life. Why would I force our daughter on you? She's not a burden. She could never be. I didn't say she was. Naomi's voice hardened further, ice forming over the cracks in her armor. But I wasn't going to beg you to be a father. I wasn't going to trap you with a child. You got what you wanted. Freedom. A fresh start. And I got Kiara. The best thing that ever came from our disaster of a marriage. Ji-hoon stood up abruptly, took a step toward her. She held up her hand and he froze mid-step. Don't come any closer. Naomi, please, let me explain why I asked. For the divorce. Let me tell you, I don't want to hear it. She moved around the desk, putting more distance between them. Her heart was racing, but her face stayed composed. Your reasons don't matter anymore. What's done is done. They do matter. His voice rose, desperate and pleading. If you'd just let me explain. Fine. She crossed her arms over her chest, a physical barrier between them. Explain. Tell me why you looked me in the eyes and said you didn't love me. Tell me why you threw away 3 years of marriage. Go ahead. I'm listening. He took a shaky breath, ran his hand through his hair. For a moment he looked like he might break down again. Then he straightened, met her eyes, and said the words that would change everything. I was sick. I was dying. The floor dropped out from under her. Everything stopped. Her breath, her heart. Time itself seemed to freeze. She stared at him, certain she'd heard wrong. What? 3 weeks before our anniversary. His voice was steady now, like he'd been rehearsing this. Or maybe he was just too tired to hide anymore. I found a lump. Went to the doctor. They did tests, scans, biopsies. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands, scrolled through photos, held it out to her. She didn't take it. Didn't move. Couldn't move. Testicular cancer. Stage 2. They said I needed immediate surgery, chemotherapy. They couldn't promise I'd survive. Naomi's mind went blank. White noise filled her ears. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. I was 28 years old, Ji-hoon continued, his voice breaking. And they were telling me I might die. And all I could think about was you, about putting you through that, about you watching me waste away, watching chemo destroy me, maybe watching me die. So you decided for me. The words came out automatically, her brain struggling to process, to understand. I couldn't do that to you. His eyes were pleading, begging her to understand. Couldn't trap you in a marriage watching your husband die. You were so young, so full of life. You had your whole future ahead of you, and I was facing the possibility of not having a future at all. He swiped to another photo on his phone, held it out again. This time she took it with numb fingers. The photo showed Ji-hoon in a hospital bed, gaunt and pale, his head completely bald. He looked like a ghost, like death itself. Purple bruises covered his arms from IVs. His eyes were hollow, sunken. She barely recognized him. I had the surgery not long after the divorce was finalized. His voice was distant now, like he was talking about someone else's life. Started chemo sometime later. I was so sick, Naomi. So sick I wanted to die. Some days I prayed I would so the pain would stop. Her hands were shaking. The phone trembled in her grip. She stared at the photo of the man she'd loved, reduced to a shell, and felt something crack wide open in her chest. The actress? He laughed bitterly. That was my father's doing. The divorce tanked the company's stock. Investors were pulling out. He needed damage control, needed the public to think I'd moved on to someone appropriate. Someone Korean. Someone who could stabilize things. He took the phone back gently, their fingers brushing. I barely remember those photos being taken. I was between chemo sessions, so sick I could barely stand. But my father insisted. Said the company needed it. That thousands of jobs depended on our public image. Naomi couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Her mind was racing, trying to reconcile the man who'd coldly asked for a divorce with the man who'd been fighting for his life. And then, she managed to whisper, I got through treatment. 6 months of hell. Chemo every 3 weeks. Radiation. More surgery. He swallowed hard. I thought I was dying. For months, I genuinely believed I wouldn't make it. But 2 years ago, they declared me in remission. Cancer-free. He looked at her with such raw hope it physically hurt to witness. The first thing I did was look for you. The very first thing. I hired investigators, private detectives. I searched everywhere. But you'd disappeared completely. It was like you'd vanished into thin air. I came home, Naomi said, her voice hollow. To New York, where I should have stayed in the first place instead of following you to Seoul. I know that now, but then I couldn't find you. I thought maybe you'd remarried. Maybe you were happy. Maybe it was better if I stayed away. The office was too small, too hot, too suffocating. Naomi walked to the window, pressed her hand against the cool glass. Manhattan stretched out below her, glittering and indifferent to the bomb that had just detonated in her life. Cancer. He'd had cancer. He'd pushed her away because he was dying. But instead of making it better, instead of making her understand and forgive, it made her angrier. So much angrier. A rage unlike anything she'd felt before was building in her chest, hot and consuming and righteous. She turned around slowly. You didn't trust me. Ji-hoon blinked, confused. What? You had cancer. Her voice was shaking with controlled fury. You were dying, and you didn't trust me enough to tell me, to let me be there for you. I was trying to protect you. I didn't need protection. The words exploded out of her. I needed my husband. I needed the truth. I needed the man I loved to trust me enough to let me stand by him when he needed me most. She moved toward him now, all her carefully constructed control shattering. You made that decision alone, decided I was too weak to handle it, too fragile to watch you fight. You didn't think I was strong enough to be there for you. That's not... Do you know what that year was like? Tears were burning in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall, refused to show that weakness. Thinking you just stopped loving me? That I wasn't enough? That our marriage meant nothing? I could have handled cancer, Ji-hoon. I could have handled chemo and surgery and fear and uncertainty. What I couldn't handle was thinking you threw me away like I was garbage. Naomi, we could have faced it together. I could have been there. Could have held your hand through chemo. Could have told you it would be okay, even when it felt like it wouldn't be. But you didn't let me. You didn't trust me enough. Ji-hoon was crying again, openly, without trying to hide it. I'm sorry. God, Naomi, I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. The right thing would have been honesty. She was shaking now, her whole body trembling with emotion she couldn't contain anymore. She took a deep breath, forced herself to calm down, to regain the control that was slipping through her fingers like sand. When she spoke again, her voice was steadier, but no less intense. The right thing would have been trusting your wife, the woman who loved you, the woman who would have walked through fire for you. But you didn't trust me. You thought you knew better. You made the decision for both of us and left me to suffer the consequences. The silence stretched between them, heavy with grief and regret, and all the what-ifs that would haunt them both forever. I understand now, Naomi said finally, her voice quiet but firm. I understand why you did it, but understanding doesn't erase the pain, doesn't give me back that time, doesn't change the fact that you didn't trust me enough to let me in. What can I do? Ji-hoon asked desperately. Tell me what I can do to make this right. You can't make it right. The words were simple, final. What's done is done. We can't go back. We can only move forward. Then let me move forward with you. With both of you. You can move forward with Kiara, she corrected sharply. On my terms, that's all you get. She sat down at her desk, back in CEO mode, back in control. Her hands were steady as she laced her fingers together on the desk's surface. You want to know your daughter? Here are my terms. You don't tell her you're her father. Not yet. Not until I decide she's ready. She's 4 years old. She doesn't need that confusion right now. But she asked if I was her father. And you'll tell her you're a friend of Mommy's. That's all. She doesn't need the truth dumped on her before she can process it. Ji-hoon looked like she'd stabbed him, but he nodded slowly. Okay. What else? All interactions are supervised. By me. You don't get alone time with her until I decide you've proven yourself. Every meeting, I'm there. Every phone call, I'm listening. Every minute you spend with her is on my terms. For how long? As long as it takes. She met his eyes, let him see the steel in hers. You hurt me, Ji-hoon. I survived that. But if you hurt her? If you walk into her life and then disappear when things get hard, if you make her one promise you don't keep, I will destroy you. Your company, your reputation, everything. Do you understand me? I would never. You already did. Her voice cut through his protest like a knife. To me. What's to stop you from doing it to her? Because I know what I lost. His voice rose with desperation. I lost you. I lost 4 years with my daughter. I lost everything that mattered. I won't make that mistake again. Words are easy. She stood up, walked to the door, her hand on the handle. Actions are what matter. Wednesday, 3 p.m. There's a cafe near Central Park called Sweet Dreams. Family friendly. We'll meet there. 1 hour. That's what you get. Thank you. He stood quickly, looking at her like she'd given him the sun and moon instead of one supervised hour. "Thank you, Naomi. I won't let you down. I won't let her down. See that you don't." She opened the door, a clear dismissal. "And Jihoon? Don't be late. I won't wait for you. Not anymore." He walked to the door, stopped right in front of her. They were close, closer than they'd been in 4 years. She could smell his cologne, the same one he'd always worn. Could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. Could remember what it felt like to be loved completely by him. "I still love you," he said quietly, just for her. "I never stopped. Even when I was dying, even when I thought I'd never see you again, I loved you." Something in her chest twisted painfully, but her face remained impassive, her voice cold. "I'm with someone else. A good man. Someone who was there when you weren't. Someone who doesn't make decisions for me like I'm a child who can't handle the truth. Your feelings are irrelevant. Naomi, this is about Kiara. Only Kiara. We are not friends. We are not rekindling anything. You are the man who abandoned me, and I am the woman who survived it. The only reason you're getting this chance is because my daughter deserves to know her father, even though her father doesn't deserve her." She stepped back, putting space between them. "Now get out of my office. I have actual work to do." He left without another word, and she closed the door behind him. Leaned against it for just a moment, letting herself feel the tremor in her hands, the racing of her heart, the ache in her chest that threatened to consume her. Cancer. He'd had cancer. He'd thought he was dying, but he still should have told her. She pushed away from the door and returned to her desk, opened her laptop, focused on work because work was safe. Work didn't break your heart or make you question everything you thought you knew. Work was just work. That evening, Naomi spent extra time getting ready for dinner with her boyfriend. She wore the red dress Aiden loved, the one that brought out her eyes. Put on the perfume he'd bought her for her birthday. When she looked in the mirror, she looked like a woman who had her life together. A woman in love with a good man. A woman who'd moved on. If only the reflection was the truth. Aiden arrived exactly at 7, punctual as always, holding a bouquet of her favorite flowers, peonies. He remembered everything. "Wow," he said when she opened the door. "You look incredible." "Thank you." She took the flowers and kissed him. His lips were warm and familiar and safe. Everything Jihoon's weren't. "Let me put these in water." In the kitchen, arranging the flowers in a vase, she heard Aiden talking to Kiara in the living room. "And then the princess fought the dragon herself because she didn't need a prince to save her," Kiara was saying, clearly finishing a story. "That's right," Aiden agreed. "The best princesses save themselves." "Are you going to marry my mommy?" Kiara asked with the blunt curiosity of a 4-year-old. Naomi froze, holding a peony stem. Aiden laughed, but it sounded a little nervous. "Maybe someday, if your mommy says yes. Would that be okay with you?" "Yeah, you're nice. And you play with me. Not all grown-ups play." Naomi's chest tightened. Aiden was good with Kiara. Patient and kind and present. Everything a father should be. Everything Jihoon hadn't been. She walked back into the living room with the vase. "Ready?" she asked, her voice bright. Aiden stood, kissing Kiara on the head. "Be good for Grandma, kiddo." "I'm always good," Kiara protested, making them both laugh. The restaurant was one of their favorites, intimate and quiet. The kind of place where they could actually talk. They ordered wine and appetizers and fell into easy conversation. Aiden talked about a new project at work. Naomi listened, asked questions, laughed at the right moments, playing the role of attentive girlfriend because she was an attentive girlfriend. She loved Aiden. She did. "You seem distracted," Aiden said halfway through dinner, his hand covering hers on the table. This was it. The moment she had to decide how much to tell him. She looked at Aiden, at his kind eyes and patient expression, and realized she couldn't lie to him. Not about this. My ex-husband is in New York, she said quietly. The Park Industries CEO. He's Kiara's father. Aiden's hand stilled on hers. What? We ran into him at the park on Sunday. Kiara asked if he was her daddy. He figured it out. She took a breath. We had a meeting this morning. He wants to be part of her life. And you're letting him? There was no judgment in his voice, just curiosity and concern. For Kiara, she deserves to know her father. Naomi squeezed his hand. Aiden processed this, his face thoughtful. How do you feel about him being back? I don't know. It was the most honest answer she could give. Angry mostly. But it doesn't change anything between us. Doesn't it? He studied her face carefully. Naomi, I need to know. Do you still have feelings for him? The question hung in the air between them. She could lie. Should lie. But Aiden deserved the truth. What I felt for him died 4 years ago, she said, meeting his eyes. He destroyed that when he left. You're the man I'm with. The man I love. That's what matters. She watched him search her face, looking for reassurance or maybe deception. She tried to project confidence, certainty, but inside she was a mess of contradictions. Did she still have feelings for Jihoon? She didn't know. She didn't want to know. I love you, Aiden said finally. And I love Kiara. If her father is going to be part of her life, I'll support that. But I need you to be honest with me. If things change, if you feel differently, I need you to tell me. Nothing's going to change. She leaned forward, squeezed his hand tighter. He's going to be in Kiara's life, but not mine, I promise. The words felt hollow even as she said them, but she needed them to be true. Needed Aiden to believe them. Needed to believe them herself. He kissed her then, deep and thorough, and she kissed him back, trying to pour everything into it, trying to convince herself that this was enough, that he was enough, that she'd moved on. When they got back to her apartment, Aiden came up. They sat on the couch after checking on Kiara, who was asleep in her room, and watched a movie neither of them paid attention to. His arm was around her head on his shoulder. It was comfortable, easy, safe. His hand traced patterns on her arm. Stay with me this weekend? We could take Kiara to that museum she's been asking about. Make a day of it. That sounds perfect. Yeah? He tilted her face up to his. I miss you. Even when we're together, I feel like I'm missing you lately. The observation cut deeper than it should have. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be distant. Then don't be. He kissed her forehead. Let me in, Naomi. You don't have to be strong all by yourself. Let me help. She kissed him then. Let him pull her closer. Let the physical connection substitute for the emotional one she couldn't quite give him. His hands were gentle, reverent, his kisses slow and deep. This was good. This was right. This was the man she should want. So why did her mind keep drifting to dark eyes and a broken voice saying, I never stopped loving you? She pushed the thought away violently and focused on Aiden, on the man who was here, who stayed, who loved her without conditions or complications. She kissed him harder, needing to prove to herself that she'd moved on, that Jihoon's return changed nothing about her feelings for Aiden. Later, lying in bed with Aiden asleep beside her, his arm heavy across her waist, Naomi stared at the ceiling. Her phone was on the nightstand. She could see the screen light up with a notification. She carefully extracted herself from Aiden's arm and picked it up. A text from an unknown number. But she knew who it was before she even opened it. Thank you for today. I know I don't deserve your generosity. I'll be at the cafe on Wednesday. I won't let her down. I won't let you down. Not again. Jihoon. She should delete it. Should block the number. Should protect the peace she'd built with Aiden. But she didn't. She read it 3 times, her thumb hovering over the screen, before finally typing back. This isn't about you or me. It's about Kiara. Don't forget that. His response came immediately, like he'd been waiting by his phone. I won't, I promise. How is she? Does she ask questions? Does she understand? She shouldn't engage. Shouldn't have this conversation. But something in her needed to respond. She asked who you were. I told her you were someone Mommy used to know. She said you looked sad. A long pause. Then, I am sad. I'm devastated. I missed 4 years of her life. 4 years I can never get back. Then don't miss any more. I won't. I swear on everything I am, I won't miss another moment. She should stop. Should say goodnight and put the phone down and curl up next to Aiden and forget this conversation happened. But her fingers kept moving. She likes dinosaurs. And the color purple. Her favorite food is mac and cheese, but only the kind with the cartoon characters. She's scared of the dark, so she sleeps with a nightlight. She asks about her father sometimes. I never knew what to tell her. She watched the 3 dots appear and disappear several times before his response came. What did you tell her? That he was far away. That it wasn't his fault or hers. I tried to protect her from the truth. That her father chose to leave before he even knew she existed. Naomi, I'm so sorry. If I could go back. You can't. None of us can. We can only move forward. Then let me move forward with you. Let me be there for both of you. She stared at those words for a long time. The audacity of it. The presumption. He thought he could just walk back into their lives and they'd be a family. Like the past 4 years didn't matter. Like the pain didn't count. You can move forward with Kiara. That's all you get. For now. But Naomi, I meant what I said. I never stopped loving you. I don't care how you feel, Jihoon. A long pause this time. Then, do you love him? The question felt invasive, inappropriate. None of his business. But she answered anyway. Yes. The way you loved me? That's none of your business. I need to know. Do you love him the way you loved me? Does he make you feel what I made you feel? He makes me feel safe, cherished. That's more important than anything you made me feel. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. Stop texting me. I'll see you Wednesday. She turned off her phone and put it face down on the nightstand. Aiden stirred beside her, his hand reaching for her in his sleep. She let him pull her close, his body warm and solid against her back. This was where she belonged. In this bed, with this man, building this life. Not texting her ex-husband at midnight like some lovesick teenager. But sleep didn't come easily. Her mind kept replaying the conversation, kept hearing Jihoon's voice in her office, kept seeing the devastation on his face when she confirmed Kiara was his. She'd wanted him to hurt, had wanted to make him feel even a fraction of what she'd felt. But now that she had, it didn't feel as satisfying as she'd imagined. It just felt sad. Wednesday arrived with typical New York speed, the days between Monday and now blurring together in a haze of meetings and emails and pretending everything was normal. Naomi had told Kiara they were meeting a friend for hot chocolate. Kiara had been excited, chattering all morning about whether she could get whipped cream and chocolate sprinkles. Now, standing outside the cafe at 2:55, holding Kiara's small hand in hers, Naomi felt her heart racing. This was it. The moment Jihoon would officially meet his daughter. Not an accident in the park, not a glimpse from across a conference room, a real, intentional meeting. Mommy, you're squeezing too hard, Kiara complained. Sorry, baby. Naomi loosened her grip. Are you excited for hot chocolate? Yes. And you said your friend is nice, right? Right. What's his name? Jihoon. Kiara tested the name out. Jihoon, that's a funny name. Despite everything, Naomi smiled. It's Korean. He's from Korea. Like my friend Mina at school. She's Korean too. That's right. The door to the cafe opened and Jihoon stepped out. He'd been waiting inside, probably too nervous to stay seated. He looked different than he had in her office, less polished. He wore jeans and a simple sweater, like he was trying to look approachable. Unthreatening. His hair was slightly messy and his eyes were anxious. When he saw Kiara, his entire face transformed. The anxiety melted into wonder. He crouched down to her level slowly, carefully, like he was afraid of scaring her. "Hi, Kiara," he said, his voice soft. "I'm Ji-hoon. Your mom and I are old friends." Kiara studied him with the intense scrutiny only children possess. "You're the man from the park." "I am. Is it okay if I have hot chocolate with you?" Kiara looked up at Naomi, seeking permission. Naomi nodded. "It's okay, baby." "Okay," Kiara said, turning back to Ji-hoon. "But I get to sit by the window." Ji-hoon laughed, and the sound was so genuine, so full of joy, that it made Naomi's chest ache. "The window seat is all yours." They went inside and settled at a corner table. Kiara took the coveted window seat. Naomi sat beside her, and Ji-hoon across from them. He'd brought a small stuffed animal, a purple dinosaur, which he set on the table tentatively. "I heard you like dinosaurs," he said, "and purple. So I thought maybe you'd like this." Kiara's eyes went wide. "For me?" "If you want it." She looked at Naomi again. "Can I, Mommy?" "Yes, you can." Kiara grabbed the dinosaur and hugged it to her chest. "Thank you, Mr. Ji-hoon. I'm going to name him Buddy." "Buddy is a perfect name," Ji-hoon said, and his eyes were suspiciously bright. They ordered hot chocolate for Kiara, coffee for the adults. Kiara got her whipped cream and sprinkles and immediately had a foam mustache, making them all laugh. It was surreal, sitting there like a normal family, like they did this every week. Like Ji-hoon hadn't been absent for Kiara's entire life. "So Kiara," Ji-hoon said, his voice careful. "Your mom tells me you're 4 years old. What's your favorite thing about being 4? I can write my name now. Wanna see?" Without waiting for an answer, Kiara grabbed a napkin and borrowed Naomi's pen, carefully writing Kiara in wobbly letters. "That's wonderful," Ji-hoon said, examining it seriously. "Very good handwriting. Mommy says I'm smart. I'm going to be a scientist when I grow up, or maybe a dinosaur doctor." "A paleontologist," Naomi supplied. "Yeah, that. I'm going to find dinosaur bones and put them back together." "That sounds like an amazing job," Ji-hoon said. "I think you'd be great at it." Naomi watched them interact, watched Ji-hoon hang on every word Kiara said like she was reciting poetry instead of rambling about dinosaurs, and her friend Emma and her favorite cartoon. He was completely entranced, and Kiara, naturally social and friendly, was warming up to him quickly. "Do you have any kids?" Kiara asked suddenly, the question innocent and devastating. Ji-hoon's eyes flickered to Naomi. She gave the smallest shake of her head. "No," he said quietly. "No kids." "That's sad. Kids are fun. You should get some. Maybe someday," he said, his voice thick with emotion he was clearly trying to hide. "You could play with me sometimes. If Mommy says it's okay. I like playing with grown-ups who actually play instead of just watching." "I would love to play with you," Ji-hoon said. "If your mom says it's okay." Both of them looked at Naomi. She felt the weight of their expectations, their hopes. One too young to understand the complexity, one too aware of everything at stake. "We'll see," Naomi said, the same non-answer she always gave. They stayed for an hour. Kiara talked almost the entire time, telling Ji-hoon about her preschool, her favorite books, her stuffed elephant named Mr. Snuggles. Ji-hoon listened to every word, asked questions, laughed at her jokes. He was good with her. Natural, like he'd been doing this for years instead of minutes. Finally, Naomi checked her watch. "We need to go, baby. Grandma's expecting us." "Ah, already?" Kiara's face fell. "But I didn't finish telling Mr. Ji-hoon about the time I saw a real dinosaur at the museum." "You can tell me next time," Ji-hoon said, "if your mom says there can be a next time." Can there be, Mommy? Please? How could she say no with Kiara's hopeful face looking up at her? With Jihoon's careful, guarded expression trying not to show how much her answer mattered? Maybe next week, Naomi heard herself say. Kiara cheered and hugged Buddy the dinosaur tighter. Jihoon's whole face lit up, years of sadness momentarily erased by hope. Outside the cafe, Kiara surprised them both by running to Jihoon and hugging his legs. He froze, then slowly, carefully, hugged her back, his large hands gentle on her small back. Naomi watched him close his eyes, memorizing the moment. When Kiara pulled away and grabbed Naomi's hand, ready to go, Jihoon looked like someone had given him the world and then taken it away in the same breath. Bye, Mr. Jihoon. Kiara waved enthusiastically. Bye, Kiara, he managed, his voice rough. After Kiara ran ahead to look at a dog, Jihoon turned to Naomi. Thank you. For today. For letting me. His voice broke. She's perfect. You did an incredible job raising her. I know, Naomi said simply. Because she did know. She'd done it alone and she'd done it well. Can I? He stopped, started again. Would it be okay if I texted you? About her? About next time? Naomi should say no, should maintain boundaries, should keep him at arm's length. But Kiara was already attached to Mr. Jihoon and his purple dinosaur. And despite everything, despite all the pain and anger, he'd been good with her today. Patient and kind and genuinely interested. Yes, but only about Kiara. Nothing else. Only about Kiara, he agreed quickly. I promise. She nodded and walked away, Kiara's hand in hers, not looking back even though she could feel his eyes following them. That night, after Kiara was asleep clutching Buddy the dinosaur, Naomi's phone buzzed. Thank you. I can't say it enough. She's the most amazing person I've ever met. You gave me the greatest gift today. Naomi stared at the message, then typed, I didn't do it for you. I did it for her. She deserves to know her father, even if he doesn't deserve to know her. I'll spend the rest of my life earning that right, I promise you. Promises are easy. Actions are what matter. Then watch my actions. Let me prove myself. She didn't respond, just turned off her phone and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Aiden was probably asleep in his apartment, unaware that her ex-husband had just spent an hour with their daughter, that he was slowly, carefully working his way into their lives. She'd told Jihoon the truth. This was about Kiara. Only about Kiara. Her daughter deserved a father who showed up, who tried, who loved her. And if Jihoon could be that father, then Naomi would let him. For Kiara's sake, but for herself? The door to her heart was closed, locked, sealed. Jihoon could be in Kiara's life, but he would never, ever be in hers again. She belonged to Aiden now. Good, stable, present Aiden who loved her without conditions. That was enough. It had to be enough. Even if some small, traitorous part of her heart whispered that it wasn't. If you're dying to know what happens next, hit that subscribe button right now. Is Naomi really over Jihoon? Or is she lying to herself? Can Aiden compete with the history she shares with her ex? And will Jihoon's groveling be enough to earn his way back into their lives? Drop a comment below and tell me, are you Team Aiden or Team Jihoon? And smash that like button if you're absolutely hooked on this story. Episode 3 is coming soon, and trust me, things are about to get so much more complicated.